What's up, everybody? Dog 1985. There's levels to this. Yo, I wasn't even sure I was gonna make this video, but I just finished streaming on Twitch, and before that, I was on my boys ISO Motion Gaming's podcast, What a Warrior podcast. You know how we do. And this was the first topic that we spoke about. So if you missed it, go ahead check out the whole podcast. But this is the gist of this topic here, right? I can't believe we're talking about fruit. I can't believe we are talking about fruit. So, this is the way I see this. If you are an Xbox hater, so many things have happened within the last 2, 3 weeks, whatever, right? The Ascent came out, Flight Simulator came out, and then the beta testing for Halo is out. And what's blowing up on my Twitter feed now, maybe I need a whole new Twitter feed. Maybe that's what I need, but I see it on YouTube as well. What's blowing up is people talking about how fruit reacts in a video game. So there was nothing else that you could find wrong with Microsoft for the last 2 weeks. So you had to go and point out how when you shoot at fruit, nothing happens. The problem with that logic is that people went back, Xbox fans went back and pulled up Sony games where you can't shoot fruit either. And these are like great games that you can't shoot fruit. So then it becomes to the point where if you can't shoot fruit in a game, it's not a good game. What are we doing, guys? Well, are you serious right now? To me, honestly, if you're an Xbox fan, this is a victory. This is a victory because they could have spoken about how horrible Halo Infinite was. They could have spoken about how horrible Flight Simulator was as far as scores were, right? Or that it looked horrible, or that it only ran at 30 frames. And then they looked really dumb when they said that it only ran at 30 frames and then more stuff came out. But regardless, right? So I'm sitting here looking at everything that's going on, and it's if you go into Flight Simulator and you go towards the ground and you get close to the building, the textures of the buildings aren't good. Okay, but it's literally rendering the entire world, right? It's literally rendering the entire world. Okay, that's number one. Or if you're playing Halo and you shoot a piece of fruit, the fruit doesn't react. Even though I saw images of people like grappling chickens and it was doing stuff. But regardless, shooting fruit. And then I saw somebody try to explain how the whole purpose of it is that something happened in a game. Actually, I'll say who it is. Shout out to you, King Thrash. He stopped by the podcast, so I'm gonna give him a shout out. I appreciate it. He left a few comments. Actually, he was there. He was there almost the entire podcast, so I appreciate that. So, anyways, King Thrash has a video that when I first heard the video, to me it was like, damn, that actually kind of makes sense. So pretty much what he's trying to do is hold the standard, right? So what he's saying is when he played Gears 3, moving through foliage, is that how you say it? It moved. The foliage actually moved. But then playing Gears 5, the foliage doesn't move, right? And at first, at face value, when I heard that, I was like, okay, that makes sense. And what he's saying is he's not talking trash about Microsoft and video games just to talk trash. He's talking trash to make sure the standard is still being held. And I can honestly respect that. So everyone that had a meme about shooting fruits and stuff like that, unless you can show a video of Halo where you could also shoot fruit, then I don't want to hear it. And that's pretty much the same thing he said. Like, don't do that, right? So I can definitely respect that. How you should hold the standard. It shouldn't be getting worse. At face value, that made sense until I started thinking about it even more. And I thought about how certain sacrifices in games are going to be made. So if the sacrifice is that this game is running at 4K 60 and it looks amazing and the gameplay is amazing and everything, but if you happen to walk through foliage, it doesn't move, right? Because they're not expecting you to actually walk through the foliage. That's an okay sacrifice. Holding the standard in that scenario to me is okay, because if I'm going to measure it with an Xbox game, I'm going to do the same thing with a PlayStation game. And the PlayStation game that I'm going to use is your precious God of War. In God of War 1, 2, and 3, you can jump. It's the God of War. He can do all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So you can jump, you can glide. I think you can even double jump. And with all that, once you play God of War 2018, you can no longer jump. Does that mean that God of War 2018 is not a good game? Of course not. Of course not. It's just the direction that they took that game, they took away. And that's a gameplay feature, which is arguably more important than whether or not you could walk through footage. Imagine what the combat would have been like in God of War 2018 if you could actually jump. I mean, come on now, right? But it doesn't mean that that makes it a bad game. So when I thought about it that way, it's okay. Some of these developers are going to make sacrifices in different things so that you can get everything else right. So when you're playing Flight Simulator and you're supposed to be flying a plane at whatever altitude it is, if when you get really low to the ground, the textures don't look as well, but when you're up in the sky and you're looking at this scenery in 4K and it's spreading out to freaking an amazing visual display, like, come on, man, that makes sense to me. So I just thought the fruit thing was really, really, really silly. But it is what it is, man. Let me know what you guys think. Dog1985. I think this is great for anyone that's a Xbox enthusiast right now, because they're running out of things to say. They're running out of things to say, and the problem is there's so much negative things that we could say about the PS5, regardless as to how they want to disguise it with the whole SSD thing. Because now they're coming out with, we got so much options and they give you all the specs. This is great. I thought consoles were just plug and play. I thought that's what it was supposed to be, just plug and play. Now it's this complicated, but then you complained about AA batteries, but this is not a problem. So it's like, come on, man, don't, let's not do that. Keep the same energy is all I'm saying. Dog 1985, there's levels to this. We out. Peace.